Hi and welcome back to Caleb's Corner, and today we are looking at the Jazwares Spartan Collection Halo 2 Master Chief. On the front of the box you can see Master Chief through the window with his accessories. On the side of the box you can see Master Chief himself, and on the back you can see a pose of Master Chief, a little bit of information, and the rest of the Series 4 figures. And if you want to read the information right up here, you can go ahead and do that now. And here is our Halo 2 Master Chief out of the packaging. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories that he comes with. Here we will have two fisted hands, you will have two trigger discipline hands. He also comes with one left side 2-finger pointed hand, and he also comes with his two SMGs. Now on to articulation here. His head will look up about that far, it will look down that far, and you do get his head to go all the way around, of course, and he is on a disc hinge joint here, so he don't get any play side to side whatsoever because it's not a ball joint. His arm will go up to about a 90-degree angle, which is nice. You do get that to go all the way around. You do get a bicep cut, though due to the way the armor hits each other as you rotate it, it won't go all the way around because it starts rotating that shoulder socket in the ball joint there. You do get a double jointed elbow, but because of the way the armor is sculpted, again, you're only getting about 90 degrees out of that. And there is no forearm swivel, unfortunately, and the hands will go all the way around and they pivot a little bit forward and a tiny bit backward. That's like that for all the hands. Now for the diaphragm joint, he does go about that far forward and that far back, and you get a little bit of play side to side. He goes absolutely nowhere. I'm not even sure why the joint's even there, if that's how little articulation you get out of it. It's also probably the weakest diaphragm joint I've seen in my life, because you can unfortunately break Master Chief like you're breaking bread. Now it doesn't totally damage it, the ball joint just comes out. It's not actually broken, but that ball joint will just click back into that torso. But it's about the weakest ball joint I've seen in my life, like my entire life. Even as a kid, I never had a figure do that. And I wasn't even really tugging on it. As you can see, it's like, pop, there you go, it's off. It's the worst engineered diaphragm joint I've seen. For legs, you can get him to go that far forward, and you can also get his legs to go that far back. I think we can actually, we can get about 90 degrees forward and back, which isn't too bad. He can do just about near perfect splits, which is pretty solid. And you do get an upper thigh cut, however, because of the way the armor is sculpted, it's going to collide with the cod piece, so you can't get it to go all the way around because it just bumps into each other. You do get this absolutely abhorrent double jointed knee. I have no idea who designed this and who approved it, but that is disgusting. That's the worst double jointed knee I've seen in my life, and I've seen some bad figures. It does look better if you just don't pivot the lower leg and you just pivot it up on the upper black portion of the under bodysuit, but it's just gross. And doing that, you're going to lose that double jointed knee functionality, of course, if you do try to make it look nice while you move around with it. But it's just, look at that. That's just gross. And there's this awful gap where the legs should be touching each other like on a regular human body. But you get this really awful knee. I just hate looking at this. This is just so gross. I have no idea what happened and what went wrong there. There is no calf cut on Master Chief, and his feet will go that far forward and that far back. There's no ankle rocker, no pivoting, and you can get his feet to go all the way around, though, and you do get an articulated toe. And I did notice this really neat detail while I was playing around with it. There is this cut on his thighs on both sides, so you can actually pull that out and it leaves a gap. And when you take the opposite side, swap it around to where it was pegged in at, and then you have this little peg facing outwards. You can take the peg hole on the SMG and then put it onto the thigh armor of Master Chief. You can hold it just like he did in the games. Now, while that is awesome, the downfall is the SMG is the same mold on both sides. So the hole that the peg goes into is also on the same side on both of the SMGs. And because of that oversight, when you peg in the other SMG on his left side here, it faces forward. The handle faces forward. So you get this really awkward look. It shouldn't look like that. In the game, it goes backwards on both sides. But they just didn't swap the holes. All they needed to do was just swap the peg holes here, and then it would have looked great. But they didn't, so you get this really awkward front-facing look on the left side of Master Chief if you peg the SMG into the armor, which sucks because I will probably never display it like this now, and I'll always have him holding at least the left side SMG. Now, as for the paint job for this Halo 2 Master Chief, I thought it looked a tad pale than what I remembered Master Chief looking like in Halo 2, so I went ahead and I booted up Halo 2 on my Xbox, and my suspicions were correct. He has this much nicer, darker olive green look in the game, and not this pale green that we're getting here. And like there is some dark green on him, and I think I can't tell if it's shading or if it's just molded like that. I think it's molded, but there is this darker olive green in some parts of the armor that act as shading, and if they just molded the entire figure in that darker green, this figure would look so much better than this weird pale green that we're getting. Which, if you look even closer, there is this nice dry brushed silver weathering effect all over the figure, but because of the pale green, you don't see it. So if we got in that olive darker green, you would see that weathering all over this figure. And the visor looks fantastic. It's super reflective. It looks great. I just wish we got in that darker green, because not only would the dry brushing silver pop all over this figure, there's so much from the top of the helmet to the kneecaps. It's everywhere. You just don't see it unless you had like very specific harsh lighting. And his helmet visor would also stand out a lot more if we had that darker green coloring all over the figure. And you can kind of see in the studio lighting that there's a little bit of silver on the side of the chest, but that's really all you're noticing unless I really take the camera close to the figure and move him around. Another odd detail I noticed while moving around with the figure was the shape of the fisted hands. If you look closely, the thumb is actually resting on the lower portion of the fingers. So instead of getting this like really nice strong fist, you have this like half committed fist, which loses a lot of intensity for punching poses and adds a really odd pointed shape to the overall shape of the figure. I just wish they had like this regular strong fist instead of this. It's just a really odd decision to make. Now, final thoughts on our Halo 2 Jazwares Spartan Collection figure. I think he has some things that are really strong for it, but I think there's a lot of things that really hold it back. I think the visor looks great. I think the overall armor sculpt detail looks great. I think the amount of accessories we're getting with the interchangeable hands and the two SMGs are fantastic. I thought the way that you can peg in and out the side of his thigh armor is a really creative solution to not having pegs either always facing outwards or even having pegs on the SMGs. I thought that was really brilliant, but I think the things that really hold this figure back are going to be the decision of the green color overall, the diaphragm joint that doesn't go anywhere and pops off at the slightest bit of tension, and those atrocious double jointed knees that just break sculpt and look awful. I have no idea what happened with that knee joint, but I wish it didn't. It's pretty bad. And then I do think the lack of ankle rocker really holds the figure back from doing some really nice dynamic poses, because you can't really put him in a pose that's wider than shoulder width because of that lack of ankle rocker. So overall, I think I'm going to have to give this Master Chief a 4 out of 10. It's not the worst thing I've seen in the world, and it has some promising ideas going for it, but it needs some fixes, especially in articulation and some of the paint decisions. I think he is a tad overpriced for the amount of issues he does have, but if they tighten up those issues in further releases, I think there's a really promising Halo action figure line just waiting to be had here. But that's going to do it for this review of the Halo 2 Master Chief. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. If you liked the video, feel free to give it a like. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, feel free to subscribe. And I will see you next time here at Caleb's Corner.